Good afternoon, this is news in English from the Syrian Arab television in Damascus. An official source said that the Syrian Arab Republic regrets over yesterday's statement issued by the American President Barack Obama on the situation in Syria, for it is not based on objective and comprehensive vision. The source added that Syria has already refuted the propaganda of the American administration that Syria has sought Iran's or other sides' help to handle its domestic issues. Syria, the source added, considers that the insistence of the American administration to repeat these allegations as odd, which indicates the irresponsible attitude that forms a part of the instigation jeopardizing Syrian citizens' security. President Bashar al-Assad issued today decree number 162 appointing Abdul Qadir Abdel Sheikh as the Taki governor. An official source at the General Command of the Syrian Army and Armed Forces said that a group of people, some of them armed, drove cars and bikes on Friday afternoon from the northern end of the city of Isra in Dar'a countryside and headed to the Isra Area Directorate, where they assaulted its guards with rocks and firearms. Military personnel responded to the attackers and returned fire, causing the group to flee. Afterwards, gunfire was heard from a civilian car at the rear of the group, carrying several masked individuals who opened fire at random. This led to the killing of 8 people and wounding 28 from both the group and military personnel. The source added that another group on bikes moved from the town of Al-Hiraq towards a military checkpoint between the town of Al-Mleha, Al-Gharbiyah and Al-Hiraq, while a group headed to the checkpoint from Al-Mleha, Al-Gharbiyah and other nearby villages on foot. Most members of the two groups carried knives, sticks, gasoline containers, and containers filled with a red fluid. They attacked the military checkpoint and were confronted by the army, who fired warning shots in the air, causing the groups to disperse and head towards Al-Hiraq without any injuries. In the town of Al-Mu'addamiyya in Damascus countryside, an armed criminal group attacked a military facility and was repelled immediately by the station personnel, causing injuries. The official source affirmed that the armed forces would respond firmly to anybody who attempt to attack the army personnel who protect the country, and that those who commit these attacks and criminal acts would be tracked down and prosecuted to receive their just punishment. 2 policemen were killed and 11 others were wounded in attacks launched by armed groups in Damascus and Homs yesterday. A source at the Interior Ministry said that Tariq Makkawi and Simon Isa were killed after armed groups shot them in Al-Mu'addamiyya area in Damascus countryside and the Bab Amr area in Homs. Martyr Makkawi was born in Damascus countryside in 1975. He was married and left behind 3 children. Martyr Isa was born in Hama in 1981. He was single. Following are the names of the policemen wounded in Damascus, Homs and Idlib so far. Captain Mashhour Captain Mashhour Aboud Al-Muhammad, Captain Manhal Munir Al-Hassan, Sergeant Riyad Al-Aid, Policeman Tariq Khalid Al-Shaheen, Policeman Mustafa Ali Al-Khatib, Policeman Riyad Saleh Masoud, Policeman Ahmad Riyad Saleh, Policeman Abdullah Ghazi Al-Asad, Policeman Riyad Sadat, Policeman Muhammad Abdu, Policeman Firas Hiruki. Despite the wide-scale misleading campaign against Syria and the instigation by foreign media and direct calls for organizing protest with defining the places of gathering and even the slogans, limited numbers of demonstrators took to the streets in a number of Syrian provinces. Sana correspondents in Damascus countryside, Hama, Deir ez-Zor, Al-Hazaki and Homs, said the participants in the gatherings repeated slogans for freedom and martyrs. Some people in these gatherings committed acts of vandalism and attacks on public and private properties. Police centers, fire engines, and firefighters in the area of Hajjar, Al-Aswad, Daraya and Jobar. Some burglars exploited the chaos and ransacked several stores and homes. Thousands chanted for freedom and martyrs during gatherings in Dar'a and a few nearby areas. Raqqa, Tartus, Aleppo and Suwaida government rates remained calm, and Hama and Hasaki government rates returned to normal after limited scuffles between demonstrators and local citizens, with the police interfering to maintain order. The Interior Ministry called upon citizens to obtain a license from the relevant authorities before demonstrating in accordance with the law of peaceful demonstration, which is guaranteed by the Constitution of the Syrian Arab Republic, in order to enable the security forces to shoulder their responsibilities in protecting the demonstrators and the safety of the homeland and civilians. In a massive official and popular procession, thousands of Hasaka natives accompanied the body of the martyr Sergeant Abdullah Ahmad al-Yusuf, and he was laid to rest in the village of Al-Jabriye in Amouda Hasaka Governorate.
Sergeant Al-Yusuf was killed while performing his duty in a Salman area in Daraa. The martyr's father, Ahmad Al-Yusuf, expressed pride in his son, who carried out his duty faithfully and sacrificed his life for the sake of his country. In turn, Sergeant Al-Yusuf's uncle Haji Muhammad Al-Yusuf said that Abdullah gave his life for Syria's unity and dignity, calling for bringing the criminals who are targeting the country to justice. Two relatives of the martyr, Aboud Shawar and Saleh Abdullah Al-Mahmoud, said that the Syrian people would find the conspiracy targeting their country as they did before. Sergeant Abdullah Ahmad Al-Yusuf was born in the village of Al-Jabiri in 1989.
As part of the attacks carried out by armed criminal groups against citizens, policemen, and public and private properties, an armed criminal group burned a number of public transport buses in Tishin Quarter near Damascus yesterday. This group also vandalized and destroyed a number of public transport buses in the same area. Meanwhile, army personnel found mobile phones using non-Syrian SIM cards and positioning software and digital cameras containing short fabricated videos depicting acts of violence and fake repression of the protests. The phones and cameras were carried by members of an armed criminal group that attacked a military location in Rakhim al-Ahraq area in Daraa countryside. The group members also carried sticks, swords, and metal tools that were used during protests against security forces, in addition to bottles full of real blood to be used in filming fabricated acts of violence and bottles filled with gasoline to set fire. An armed group on Friday opened fire on fire engines and hit them with stones in Jobar area in Damascus. The fire engines were on their way to extinguish fire after receiving a call from the area's inhabitants in this regard. Several firemen were seriously injured and were taken to a hospital. In a statement to the Syrian satellite channel, one of the firefighters said that they headed to Jobar to extinguish a fire at a gas station, and when they reached there, a gathering started throwing stones on them despite the fact that the fire engines were not close or heading towards them. He added that the gathering started smashing one of their cars while an armed group opened fire on it, referring that the fire engine was damaged, 3 firemen were wounded, the other vehicles managed to turn around and leave the scene. In Talbisa area in Homs Governorate, a number of vandalists have blocked the roads inside the city by burning tires and destroying properties. Moreover, a fire engine was blocked on its way to put out the fires that the vandals started in the first place. Our cameras have filmed the sabotage and vandalism acts perpetrated by armed groups and vandalists in Homs city. We inflicted huge damages to public and private properties, aiming to intimidate the people of the city. Al-Safir Lebanese newspaper reported sources it described as credible that media man Ghassan bin Jiddo, director of Al Jazeera satellite channel office in Beirut, tendered his resignation after Al Jazeera channel itself turned into an operation room for instigation and mobilization. The sources confirmed that bin Jiddo's decision goes back to many reasons. The most important of them is that Al Jazeera channel put an end to a full dream of professionalism and objectiveness. While the political and media campaign that targets Syria, its government and people continue, some objective persons start to criticize the lack of transparency and professionalism in Western media. Peter Lee, the specialized writer in international affairs, wrote an article in Counterpunch website entitled Syria and Misleading in the Western Media, in which he criticized important papers such as The Guardian for depending on one source and ignoring the official Syrian sources in a way that makes such papers lose credibility. He mentioned that incidents of Banyas and the ambush set for a unit from the Syrian army on the 10th of April. He also criticized Western media for ignoring that the international and regional network that includes Syrian descendants who call themselves opposition abroad have an interest in targeting Syria's stability. Now over to Khaled Saqbani and the latest in economy.